Hello, you are most welcome. I'm teacher Ivan from WUNNA Educational Services. Today we shall be looking at the quadratic equations and graphs. Quadratic equations are in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So any equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0 is a quadratic equation. And such equations can be solved using 4 methods. These 4 methods are: we have factorization method, we have completing of squares, we have quadratic formula, the one people normally call bulldozer, and the graphical method. So let us start with how we solve quadratic equations using factorization method. For instance, we are told to factorize a squared minus 17a plus 42 completely, and hence solve the equation a squared minus 17a plus 42 equaling to 0. So these are the basics. For us to factorize this, we must get the sum and the product of the factors that make up this equation. For instance, from our general equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the sum is always the coefficient of x. So our sum will be b, the coefficient of x. Then the product is always the product of the coefficient of x squared times the constant. So the product is a times c, which is ac. And therefore, if we compare this idea with our equation in the question, we come up with, if we compare our equation with the general equation, it means that the sum is negative 17, which is the coefficient of a, and the product will be the coefficient of a squared, which is a 1, times the constant 42. So the product is 42. Now we look for the factors of the product 42, which are added to get negative 17. And if we look at the factors of 42, we normally have 1 times 42, we have 2 times 21, we have 3 times 14. And if I look at 3 and 14, when I add these two, 3 and 14, I get positive the 17. So how can I play with these two factors so that I get a negative? So I can only get a negative 17 if I make them all negative, so that I have negative 3 and negative 14. So that when I add the two, I get negative 17. And when I multiply the two, I'll get positive 42. And after getting our factors, we come back to our equation, which is a squared minus 17a plus 42. And where we have 17a is where we shall place our two factors, so that we get a squared minus 3a minus 14 plus 42. So 3a minus Negative 3a minus 14a takes us back to negative 17a. So after that, we shall group these terms into pairs and find the common factor of each pair or of each bracket. So when I group a squared minus 3a, the common factor will be a, and I'll remain with a minus 3. So when I group negative 14a plus 42, the common factor is negative 14. I remain with a minus 3. This minus is because when I multiply the negative out and the negative inside, I'll go back to a positive. So after taking the common factors out, now I will bring the common factors I took out in a common bracket, that is a minus 14. Then since these brackets are the same, I only take one. So I will have a minus 14 and a minus 3. So I have factorized this completely. But I had a hence. Hence, find the value of a if the equation equals to 0. And that is now a quadratic equation. So since the equation equals to 0, I will equate these two to 0. And I will consider each. I will equate this to 0, which gives me a as 14. I also equate this to 0, which gives me a as 3. So that is how we solve a quadratic equation. Thank you.